Hey everybody, what's going on? So it's Wednesday, and well, for the last time in a while, that means it's New Comic Book Day. But if you haven't heard the bad news yet, it turns out Diamond Comics Distributors, which is like, they're pretty much the only distributor that sends new comics to the comic book store each week, is for the foreseeable future, because of this whole ongoing health crisis, they're not going to be shipping new comics to the store anymore. So that's, unfortunate news. And obviously, from my point of view as a customer who are not going to have that regular Wednesday new comic book business. So hopefully, if any of y'all out there are comic book fans and you buy comics, you remember to still, even though there's no new comics, there's plenty of great older comics and collections of stuff. So visit your local store, help them out during this difficult time. But yeah, so this week of comic books may be, this is like where the sort of the half joke in my title comes from, the dusk of X. Is this it? Is the sun setting on X-Men comic books? Well, at least for the foreseeable future. But we got one more batch in this week, and that includes, the proper X-Men title, X-Men 9. We got X-Men Fantastic Four number 3. That crossover is continuing. We got a new giant size special featuring Nightcrawler. And we got Wolverine number 2. And then we got what I'm talking about right here in this video. I'm gonna be reviewing and spoiling the new volume of Hellions that just came out. And I was kind of looking forward to this more for the art than anything. Like, I really enjoy Steven Segovia's art, and I'm doing like a version of his a forthcoming cover for Hellions featuring Quanon, not Psylocke. I want to call her Psylocke, but it's Quanon now. Uh, this is same as a drawing he did for a future cover, and I'm redrawing it in my style because it's so much fun. So I was looking forward to the art, but I didn't know, I wasn't, super anticipating the story. But I've been completely turned around. Now, more than anything, I'm upset that no new comics means no new future issues of Hellions, at least anytime soon. Although maybe I'm speaking too soon. I don't know. It could be, within a week or two, everything is back to normal. But I said that a week or two ago, and yet here we are. So I'm hoping they get back to on schedule with this new Hellions book, because, like I said, I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. And honestly, even early on, reading this issue, I had some problems. Like, early in the book, it seems like the first couple scenes there is a couple of interactions where it's like, a lot of characters are basically acting like MCU Tony Stark. It's like they're the ones that have to have the sassy comebacks and, joking about everything. But it was like every character. It reminded me of like that Family Guy joke where Peter's watching Scrubs and he's like, yeah, so I got a question. Which one is the funny one? And that's kind of how I felt early on in this issue of Hellions. Like, which one is the funny one? And an example of that is like Exodus and Mr. Sinister at the Quiet Council meeting on Krakoa are both like, they're having this sort of tete-a-tete, this back and forth about like who's got the more elaborate shoulder ornamentations. And okay, now that I'm saying shoulder, I'm thinking like Mr. Big Head, Rocco's Modern Life. I'm like, you know what you need, Mr. Big Head? Shoulders. But they're having that argument, but it's just one of those scenes where I'm like, okay, I get that this is kind of like Mr. Sinister's thing. He can be the funny one, but if Mr. Sinister's the funny one, I'm hoping that it's not like he's surrounded by others that are all the funny one too, like Exodus, which seemed a little out of character for him. And also early on, so I was confused by this at first, but it turned out to be like a plot point for the character, so it's okay. I go back on being bothered by it, and that was like Havoc was just acting nuts in like the first scene. Like, it looks like he's going to, start killing humans, which is a big no-no on Krakoa for all the mutants. And he's got this sort of maniacal like giggle when it's like, when you see letters, when you see H-E-H-E-H-E, how do you read it? Because I always read it like like maybe like a Beavis and Butthead laugh, but I think more commonly people see H-E and they think like hee hee. So he's doing like whatever your version of the giggle is, he's doing that. So I was thinking like, okay, is he trying to be the funny guy? But no, it's why he ends up, spoiler for the issue, Havoc sort of gets forcibly recruited onto the new Hellions team, because basically these Hellions are the troublemakers of Krakoa. It's like we need to give them something to do. Like a character has later in the issue, like the comment about, the whole world is a china shop and the Hellions are the bulls. So don't give them any missions that's going to lead to, China that you don't want being broken, metaphorically speaking. So like, don't put them on any missions where there's like innocent humans around, because that could be a problem. They could end up killing somebody, and if they kill somebody, there's no trial. It's just immediately you go into the pit of exile. Same place they put Sabretooth, right? Who we haven't seen in a while. It's crazy we've had all these X-Men issues the past couple months, and we haven't seen Sabretooth come back yet. When's he going to return? Later rather than sooner, again, because of the delay at the comic book shop. But, what really won me around on this issue of Hellions, what made me say, okay, I want more of this, was not just the art. The art's great, of course, like I said, but Zeb Wells with the writing really got me with the... they have all these like 1 or 2 page vignettes of the characters that are going to be on the team. And one of them is Empath, a former member of the actual White Queen's Hellions from the early New Mutants issues. Like I think he appeared like back in the teens, like issue 16 or so of New Mutants Volume 1 in the 80s. But Empath is, I think his moment in the sun before this was probably like the John J. Muth illustrated issues of New Mutants, which is like him and Magma in issue 62. That's a classic. I really enjoyed that one from back in the day. But, pretty much he's always been a villain. He was one of the Hellions that escaped Trevor Fitzroy's absolute slaughter of all the Hellions in the Uncanny X-Men 281, 282, the first Bishop issues. So he survived. Most of the other, now that everyone can be resurrected, even the Hellions that died, they've come back. But Empath, I never thought about his powers as in such an interesting way. But Zeb Wells, I really got to give it to him. I feel like the way he approached discussing Empath's powers is really what got the book sold. Like, I imagine this being, I'm just guessing, but it seems to me like this was the pitch. Like, he pitched like this interpretation of Empath that then Marvel editorial was like, that's good. That's more than good. You got the job. You got the book. We're putting out a Hellions book, and you're writing it, Zeb. Great job. But the way he approaches the powers is it's this text page explanation of, if you didn't know, Empath's powers are basically he can control the emotions of those around him. So it's this really interesting approach Zeb took, where it's like we examine this character and his motivations. It's like when his powers activated as a teenager, he started immediately getting what they say in the book is like bad data. He's getting bad data, bad emotional feedback from everyone he meets, because no matter what he does, people are like, oh, you're cool. He gets positive reinforcement no matter how much of a jerk he is, because he can control the emotions of everyone around him. So he can be absolutely manipulative, evil in any way you can imagine. And then everyone he runs into is like, that's great. Thank you. Thank you, sir. May I have another? You're wonderful. So it's this really great point being made in the book about like, the X gene didn't develop for someone who was a sociopath. The X gene, by virtue of the way it expressed itself, turns this person into a sociopath, turned him into an out-and-out troublemaker, a hellion, if you will. And I think that's a great examination of this character and what motivates him. And, they have just like the 1 or 2 page vignette, like I said, for this character of him causing trouble at Krakoa. And it's just literally him just making catfights. He's just making, that's what he says too. He's like, he makes the female students and the other mutants on the island just fight with each other for his own enjoyment. And then when people run up to him and say, hey, you can't do that, you're a jerk, that's a terrible thing to do, then he controls their emotions and makes them enjoy it too. So yeah, just a monster. You got to give him something to do. You got to give him, he's a bull in a china shop. You got to give him something to work with. So send him on a mission with the other Hellions. So who are the other Hellions? They had some interesting approaches here too for the other characters. None of them, I think, as good as Empath, but they had Nanny and Orphan Maker. Some just absolutely bizarre X-Men characters. I've seen them before in like issues of Wolverine back in the day, but I've never entirely I just don't get these characters. I'm like, they're so bizarre, but it could work here. I have hopes here. And then let's see, who do we have besides that? Scalp Hunter, former Marauder, and they also make a point in this issue of saying like, oh, this is the right now when this issue is taking place. It's the anniversary of the Mutant Massacre, which is a responsibility, the problem created by Gambit and the other Marauders. You remember Gambit was in trouble for this too, as revealed in Uncanny 350, I think, the trial of Gambit. But Scalp Hunter, I've always thought of most of the Marauders, besides Sabretooth, as these sort of like background characters. But I like the approach too here with Scalp Hunter. There's even a scene where like the Morlocks show up and he's like just on the beach cleaning his guns, because that's what he does. He just cleans his guns. He's Scalp Hunter. And the Morlocks are like, hey, you know what day it is? And he's like, the day I clean my guns, same as every day. Like, no, okay, no, it's the anniversary of that time you killed all of us, and like, sure, we can be resurrected now, but we're upset. So they start a fight, and then what's funny about that is that Scalp Hunter is then the one he's blamed by the Quiet Council for the fight, so he gets shipped off to like work with the Hellions too. It's like, you're a troublemaker, but it wasn't his fault. And then we've also got Wild Child and Havoc because like of his loose cannon scenario early in the issue is he has to work with the Hellions too. And then who's going to control them all? Well, we've got Mr. Sinister, but he gets bored quickly. So they also bring in, this is fun, again, not Psylocke proper, not Betsy Braddock, but Quanon, the Quanon version of Psylocke. I guess she is the one keeping the code name, right? And Betsy Braddock is now Captain Britain. But she's like the going to be the de facto leader of the team, and she is great. And Fallen Angels was fine, but in terms of art, especially, I don't think anyone yet in this new Dawn of X era has drawn Psylocke as well as Steven Segovia. So he's doing an incredible job here with the art. Really looking forward to the next issue of this. And big spoiler for the end of the issue, if you did not know, like their first mission, the Hellions are going to have to go after. They're being tasked with destroying basically the cloning facilities at the Essex House for orphan children, which was run by Mr. Sinister. And they're like, okay, he's really funny here. It's okay that if he's the one funny guy, because he's got some great lines, but he's talking about like, okay, I've gotten some feedback on this cloning facility. People telling me it's an abomination. So yeah, we got to go destroy it. Orders are orders. But what they don't know, they think they're just going there to kill some clones of the older Marauders, Scalp Hunter's ex-teammates. But what they don't know is that when they get there, who else is going to be waiting for them but looks like Madeline Pryor as the Goblin Queen. Definitely looks like the Goblin Queen. We don't know if this is like a clone of a clone or someone from another dimension, or like what was the version of Madeline Pryor in those X-Men comics from years ago, where it's like she was tooling around with Nate Gray for a while. Might be that version. I don't know. Might be the Cyclops ex-wife Inferno version. It looks like that because she's wearing that costume. Like the final reveal is, again, another great piece of art from Segovia. This guy's killing it on Hellions this week. I haven't even read the other X-Men books this week, but I might say, even sight unseen for those other ones, that Hellions is the best of the week. I don't know. I'll probably come back later this week and do some other review videos and let you know how the other issues stack up. But this was an incredible premiere for Hellions. Really looking forward to whenever we get it, part 2. Hopefully don't have to wait too long for that. Hopefully this delay in comic book shipping is no more than a week or 2 weeks? I hope it's not that long. But what are you going to do? And, it really blows the other spin-off books out of the water. All the other X-Men spin-off stuff, X-Force, Excalibur, Fallen Angels, New Mutants, they all have their moments, but none of them have gotten me as genuinely excited about what's going to happen next as Hellions. So great work to the creative team on this one. And, incredible work. They've got some characters I love. Again, I love the Goblin Queen. I love Psylocke. But they also, got me to become a fan almost immediately, or want to know what happens to these characters that I had not thought that much about before, most prominently Empath. So great work, guys. Really looking forward to the next one. And that's about it for this review of Hellions #1. Oh, the other thing, it starts with this quote from the. It's funny, like normally you give a quote and it's like you credit someone from the real world, but they quote Nightcrawler, like the opening page, the title page has a quote from Nightcrawler. And he says, "It is folly to create an Eden if one has no use for snakes." Big brain stuff right there, so keep that in mind. But yeah, that's basically my review for Hellions. Really looking forward to the next issue. Let me know below in the comments if you read it, what you thought about it, and also what you're thinking about this whole current situation with comics not coming out for a while. Like, what is going to be your response? Are you going to buy some old comics? It's going to focus, reread the stuff you've already got. If it goes for a while, you know, I'm probably just going to do reviews of older X-Men books too, because I've got a stack of old X-Men comics that I haven't read yet. So I might just go back and do like flashback reviews in future weeks if we don't have new stuff to look at. But that's okay too. There's so many, even if it's just X-Men, there's so many thousands of X-Men comics that I have not read that, like, I'll just use the time to catch up if I will, if I can, if I should. But yeah, like I said, that's it for the review for this time. So remember, if you like the video, what does everyone on YouTube always ask? Please remember, smash that like button, tell all your friends about the channel, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, tap the bell for notifications so you always know when I'm going live. Usually, though, it's Wednesday morning for comic book reviews and Saturday evening for a live art stream. And then I'll also give fair warning ahead of time any other bonus videos I might go live. Again, I am thinking it's, in all likelihood, it's a good possibility that I'll be back tomorrow with a review of, say, X-Men #9, because I am looking forward to that too. And then besides that, you know, remember, if you're an artist yourself, keep drawing. It's the only way to get better. You got to draw every day. And besides that, hope everyone's staying healthy, staying well, enjoying yourselves out there. Make sure, even though social distancing is being practiced right now, you got to get out of the house, get some fresh air every once in a while. Can't be at the art table all day. And essentially, that is it. So thanks for watching the video, and I will see everybody next time.